Hello everyone, in this video I'll be giving you a WIZLOCK build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. So this is a wizard and a warlock combined together, and it has a really interesting synergy that I want to go over. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, so we're going to start off with the wizard itself. The wizard, it has more adaptability early on in the game, and you get access to the spell Shield, which is a very useful spell for survivability. As for our cantrips that we want to start off with, I think the best three to go with would be Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, and Minor Illusion. So, Ray of Frost gives us a little bit of range, Shocking Grasp stops the target from having reactions, and both of these can be doubled if you have Create Water set up somehow. And Minor Illusion is an extremely useful cantrip. You can use it to get enemies out of rooms, steal from them, and also group them together if you want to drop something like a Fireball. As for our spells at level 1, I think that the best ones to go with would be Shield and Mage Armor are very essential, as we're going to be wearing clothing for most of the start of Baldur's Gate 3, so having Mage Armor to give us a little bit of an increased armor class is awesome. And then Shield there. I think Chromatic Orb is one of the best level 1 spells, because we can change its damage type, so this can be a Lightning Chromatic Orb, which will be doubled in water as well. And Longstrider is a nice one. I like a Find Familiar early on just to have that ability to spread out aggro a little bit. Even if it dies in one hit, it still will spread out one attack that would have normally hit your team. Magic Missile, pretty much an essential spell to take, because this will give you an attack if nothing else will hit. And then for the final spell, there's a few different ones we can go with. Grease is nice to cause crowd control. It can also be set on fire, but Longstrider is nice too. Extra 3 meters movement speed is huge. Ice Knife can be a decent one as well. Thunderwave for the pushback, and Sleep is pretty much a put enemies asleep and not have to deal with them again. I think it will take Longstrider though, as the increased movement speed is very useful. Now, as for our spell slot, this is a multi-attribute dependent build, so I'd recommend dumping one stat. If you're later in the game, you can dump Constitution, because there's the Constitution Amulet, which is a great addition for this class. I'll give you stats that you take without dumping anything, and then stats if you're going to dump. The two easiest to be dumped would be Dexterity and Constitution, though. We're going to take, obviously we need a decent Charisma. We can leave our Intelligence at 16. I think 16 Intelligence, 14 Charisma, and then something like 16 Constitution could be good to give us 9 health points. So this will be if we're not dumping any stats. And if we're going to dump Constitution with the Amulet, you can take all the points out of there, put the rest of them into Charisma, get that up to 16, and then the rest of the points would be in our Dexterity. If you're going to dump your Dexterity as well, you can put them into Strength, Constitution, and Wisdom. Or Strength and Wisdom for the rest of the stats, but for the purpose of this, we will put the rest into something like this. I guess maybe 10 wisdom. So that would be our dumping Constitution stats. So give you both of them there, as depends where you're at in the game for how this will play out. But I'll be going over gear options at the end of this video. As for level 2 wizard, we get to choose our subclass. Now, there's a couple that make sense here. I personally was trying out the Necromancer because I think the Necromancer's ability to self-heal is awesome. And the ability to get extra summons is always a good thing too, but I think that the Evocation Wizard is the best, as you have safety pockets so your teammates don't get hit by your spells. But later on in level 10, we get a nice ability to add our Intelligence modifier to the damage of our cantrips, which the Warlock also gets, and there's gear that can also do that as well. So we can add our Charisma modifier twice, as well as our Intelligence modifier to the damage. So it gets pretty interesting how far we can push that, and I'll demonstrate that at the end of this video. As for the spells that we'll take at level 2, Thunderwave for the pushback and Fog Cloud. You can prepare any of these at any time, so I would say something like this for our prepared spells. Just having Mage Armor and our Shield is very good for our survivability, which is kind of a very important thing for us. As for the spells at level 2, Hold Person is a flawless spell that you should always take. And Scorching Ray is just great because these all have attack rolls, so they can benefit from certain abilities that we can add to it. And for our prepared spell at level 2, I would probably take Scorching Ray or Hold Person. Depends if you want to have that concentration. We don't have anything else holding concentration, so we'll go with that for level 3, and then level 4, we take the other one. Now for extra cantrip, Friends is good if you're at the face of the party. That's always something nice to be able to persuade people. Now, one thing I want to note is if you're on higher difficulty, sometimes you want to run away after having conversation because they'll realize that you use friends on them and then they may get hostile. So If you leave the area and come back, they'll be fine. But we're going to take Bone Chill, because this is actually pretty good for shutting people down. You can also go with Mage Hand, drop a water bottle for free, and get the Mage Hand to throw it, which can set up your cold damage spells, so that's also another option there. For next level spells, Cloud of Dagger is one that a lot of people like, so we're going to take that. Not the most optimal, but it's an option. And also Mirror Image is really great to increase armor class by 9, so this just helps out with our survivability as well. Flaming Spear can be a good concentration too, as Flaming Spear can, it does require concentration, but it spreads out aggro even further. So we're going to go with this for our spells, and then for our feat, I think it's just best to go with an ability improvement, take our intelligence up to +4, so we'll get that added to our Eldritch Blast later on as well. Level 3 spells, this is exciting. There's a few options that I think are really great. Lightning Bolt and Haste being two of the main ones that I would focus on taking. If you have a Sorcerer on the team, I think all teams should likely have a Sorcerer, or maybe a Sorcerer Tempest Cleric. They can haste, do twin haste, and put haste on you and someone else. And they have advantage on they have proficiency in Constitution saving throw, so they're less likely to break concentration on haste. Because whenever condition ends, you become lethargic. So I prefer having haste come from a Sorcerer, and alternatively, I also prefer having Counterspell come from a Wizard. So I also think that Glyph of Warding is a fantastic spell, but we'll take Counterspell and Lightning Bolt. The reason we're taking Lightning Bolt is it hits in a straight line, and it can be doubled with water. So very effective early game damage. And we're going to take both of those for our prepared spells. So that's what we'll go with there for level 5. And then at level 6, we get our subclass Potent Cantrip. So your cantrips become harder to evade entirely. When a creature succeeds a saving throw against one of your cantrips, it still takes half damage. So, nice. Fireball is another spell that a lot of people really like, so you could go with that. I think Glyph of Warding is great, because it is like Fireball, but you can set it up ahead of combat. Again, Haste is good, but I'd rather have a Sorcerer take it. But if you want Haste, take it, because Haste is fantastic. Animate Dead is another nice spell. I think that this can work alongside the Warlock Wizard combination, because having an extra body around to spread aggro is awesome, but it would almost have been better if we took the Necromancer Wizard. For that, I'm going to take Fireball with that. And we'll set Glyph of Warding. The nice thing about Glyph of Warding is you can choose what type of damage that you want to have from it, similar to your Chromatic Orb. Now, for level 4, I think it's best to go with Conjure Minor Elemental. This is just awesome to be able to have the 2 ice methods that can deal a little bit extra damage. And if you want to go all in on the summons, we can take Animate Dead. It's a nice one to have. I would recommend at least one person in your team having this. So we'll take that. The Necromancer Wizard would have gotten 2 summons for the price of 1, which is really nice. But all their options that we can go with is Ice Storm. Some get a lot of effect out of that. And then Confusion's a decent concentration for 3 turns. Think of this like Crowd Control Fireball. It hits a large area, and it basically stuns them out of combat. So we're going to take that, and then you can also pop off the Find Familiar and put on Animate Dead if you want to use that. But that's what we're going to take for our level 7 there as Wizard. We're going to get another feat here, which is just really nice to have. So, next leveled spell. Ice Storm is a decent one to take. Dimension Door 2. I want to take Confusion, though. It's a great spell overall. Or I guess we'll take Haste, because it's nice just to have Haste. As for prepared spells, we're going to add on... Ice Storm's okay, but I don't love it. Maybe Fireball, just for the... Having Fireball is not a bad option. Sometimes people are grouped together in a way that it makes it useful to drop the Fireball. And then we can take... There's 2 ways we can go with this. We can add our Charisma up to 18, as we'll have 2 items that will add our Charisma modifier. So if we get that up to a +5 with a hat, we can get a hat that gives us +2 Charisma. We can end up getting a +5, which is +10 extra damage to our cantrips, which Eldritch Blast will benefit from, opposed to adding our Intelligence up to 18. It's up to you. I think that the better if we're going to focus more on Wizard spells, take that to 20. If you're going to focus more on Eldritch Blast, take the Charisma up to 18. I'm going to go with Intelligence up to 20, but just know that the Charisma version of that is also really good too, because it'll add the damage twice if we go with a certain piece of gear. Now, level 9, we get ourselves a level 5 spells, and I think a Conjure Elemental and Cone of Cold are 2 best. This one can also be double damage, so it does 128 damage at max with Create Water setup. And Conjure Elemental can actually set up water for us as well. And we're going to take that for our spells, so take Conjure Elemental and Cone of Cold. The wizard can also replenish its spell slots, which is quite nice. And at level 10, we get empowered evocation. So the grasp with the power of evocation magic tightens, so you can add your intelligence modifier to damage rolls with any evocation spells. So that's nice, just the ability to add a little bit extra damage. So for spells like our Scorching Ray, we'll get the increased damage from that. So that's really nice. We also get our increased damage to magic missile. There's gear that adds another magic missile, so that's good too. Fireball gets the increased damage. Chromatic Orb gets the increased damage, and Lightning Bolt will get the increased damage, so that's the reason we wanted to go with that +5. So a nice +5. It's incredibly useful on Scorching Ray, because each of these will get that increased damage, which is nice. For the cantrip, Mage Hand probably is the best one. Firebolt can be good too, but the reason I like Mage Hand, dropping a water bottle is free action. Getting it to throw a water ball to double your damage on Cone of Cold is huge. Now for our final level 5 spells, I think Hold Monster is incredible. It can actually win you some encounters just by using the spell alone. If you're going for more of a summon build, Cloud Kill can be nice. You can reposition it every turn. Poison damage is the most resisted damage type, which kind of sucks, but your undead won't get hurt by it. Another option, Fear is good. It's like Cone of Cold of crowd control. It hits in a large area. They drop their weapon, which you can pick up. I think that Dominate Person or Confusion would be the best option here. I'm going to go Confusion there because it's a pretty good spell overall. And then we'll take our Hold Monster. So that's what our spell slots would look like at level 10. Now, if we do get one more level, we would get our level 6 spells, which would be awesome to take. But I think it's actually best to go with the Warlock here. And obviously, we're going to take Eldritch Blast. But this is an Evocation cantrip, so it gets a nice little boost from our level 10 Warlock or Wizard. So we'll take that in Friends for our cantrips because we already have the rest. Now, this is an interesting choice. We can get the Fiend, which will give us Armor of Agathis, which is awesome. The Great Old One would give a Dissonant Whispers and Tashacia's Laughter, but critical hits will cause the target to be frightened, which is nice, but not reliable. And the Archfey is just fair. I think that the best here is actually the Fiend, because Armor of Agathis and Arms of Hadar are pretty nice. We would take our Armor of Agathis, though. I think that that's the best option. Hellish Rebuke can be good, but also Hex has some benefits, because this adds 1d6 of necrotic damage to attack. And if we put this on a target and hit him with 3 Eldritch Blasts, it's just pure damage from an Eldritch Blast. Armor of Agathis is nice, but if you want a reaction, Hellish Rebuke can be pretty decent, so this can deal 2 to 20 fire damage. If you like to set up Armor of Agathis, go this way. If you want Hellish Rebuke, go. Those would be the 2 top ones. Command is good as well, but our Charisma modifier at 18 is not as awesome as we'd want it to be for crowd control. We have other crowd control spells from Wizard. And we also get ourselves the Warlock spell pack. Now, the only upsetting thing about the Warlock, it does not have spellcaster progression. It has this packed magic. So we get a Warlock spell slots that don't interact with our Wizard one. Kind of stinks. I guess for the next leveled spell, we could go with the Armor of Agathis there. And then Agonizing Blast will add our Charisma modifier damage to Eldritch Blast, and Repelling Blast pushes a creature back. Also, I like Devil's Sight, so if you don't care for the Repelling Blast, I think Repelling Blast is awesome, but Devil's Sight, being able to see in this is the only way you can see in magical darkness, and you can see up to 24 meters, so that's pretty good. But Repelling Blast, Agonizing Blast gives you great cantrip damage, so that's what we're going to go with there. So the WIZLOCK, getting into the nitty gritty here. So we get our nice +4 from Agonizing Blast. We can also equip the Potent Robe, so cantrips deal additional damage equal to your Charisma modifier. Boom, awesome. So whenever we do it, it doesn't list it here, but our Eldritch Blast with 3 beams will get a +4 from Agonizing Blast, +4 from our Potent Robe, and then a +5 from our Evocation Wizard's ability. So if we go into the character sheet here and go through it, it should be Potent Cantrip. Your cantrips are hard. Nope, that's not it. It's the higher level one that we get the extra. I don't know where it is. Empowered. There it is. Yeah. Add your intelligence modifier damage roll with any evocation spells. So then this gets that extra damage roll as well. So that's awesome. Plus all of our spells will get that extra bonus. So Scorching Ray, which you can upcast to give yourself 6 rays, will all have that increased intelligence. We do have interesting spell casting progression because we got the level 1 Warlock spell slots, which are going to be used for our hexes. And if you want to use Armor of Agathis, we can also use our normal spell slots, and we can upcast it if we want to get ourselves a nice plus 25 health and 25 cold damage. That's an option there. The nice thing about hexes is you can... I think Hex Wisdom is probably the best one if you have a stealth-based team. These don't do a whole lot, but the reason that we want to do it is the extra damage that comes from it. And we want to be using this bonus action Hex uses one of our spell slots that we get back on short rest. So you're going to want to start or if you run out of spells, like I would ideally want to see water set up, Cone of Cold, and then on top of that having the ice methods here. So you get 2 of these and they'll deal cold damage. You want to set up your Glyph of Warding ahead of combat, so the cold or lightning ones, you can set that up, which is just an awesome spell in general. Basically, we want to use up as many spell slots as we can to justify using Eldritch Blast, or if you want to save your spell slots, that's great too, but you can also use like Armor of Agathis there. Mage Armor is a good level 1 spell. Casting at higher levels doesn't do anything extra, but it can take our armor class up a bit, which is nice, and... yeah, we want to have the Birthright Hat, which will take our Charisma up to 18. And if we would have taken the Charisma modifier boost, we would have had that up to 20. But that's what our stats look like. Birthright Hat, +1 armor class, +1 armor class, +1 armor class from these items. So that gives us 22. Not too bad. The Potent Robe giving us the... given temporary health points equal to our Charisma modifier as well. We can also go with the Wave Mother's Robe. This is going to give us the 22 armor class too. Gives us resistance to fire and cold damage, and if the wearer is standing on a water surface, we regain 1 to 4 health, and we get a level 4 Create Water for free, which is huge. So the reason Create Water is awesome is whenever we set Create Water, we're going to heal, but on top of that, Shocking Grasp will deal upwards of 48 damage, Cone of Cold will deal upwards of 128 damage, Chromatic Orb, if we go with the lightning or cold one, will deal upwards of 86 or 96 damage. And, yeah, even our attacks with Armor of Agathis, whenever the creatures attack us, will get doubled in damage, so we can do upwards of 50 damage with that. Lightning Bolt will do 96 damage. It's just incredibly powerful what we can accomplish with that. If we summon in a Water Elemental as well, it has its, the multi-attack there, and Winter's Breath. There's also the ability... this does cold damage too, which is nice. Just buff it with your water fists. There's also the Slam here. So this will create a puddle of water. So this attack's actually really useful because we can use the water elemental to set up water for these guys and for ourselves. I really like the synergy with the cold and water spells. They make a great deal of damage for us. Magic Missile is here for if we can't hit a target with anything else. And as I said, we want to dump our Charisma, but an early game option for... Spell Savin Amulet to give yourself another level 2 spell is really nice, or Spell Crux. But even the Psychic Spark to give you an extra Magic Missile is pretty good because that will take our intelligence modifier on the damage. So all of our spells do a pretty good amount of damage, and then on top of all that, we got Mage Hand there, which we can do a fancy little maneuver here by dropping a water bottle if I have some in my inventory. And when we drop a water bottle, the Mage Hand can throw it and set up water as well. So we can continually hit them with extra water or lightning and cold damage. This build is quite interesting, and yeah, you're going to have a really powerful Eldritch Blast. I think it's the strongest you can make Eldritch Blast because it gets benefits from both classes. So yeah, that is the WIZLOCK build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.